Ooh. Hey Dan, how you doing? You're the first one here.
What's going on? How are you?
Pretty good, man. Hanging out in Austin, Texas at the moment. Just got back from or just left the mastermind we had in LA.
So you just chilling in Austin, or you just have a layover?
No, I'm speaking at a mastermind tomorrow.
Oh,
So yeah.
yeah, it's mastermind season.
Oh man, it's crazy. I'm back to back. So I was planning on being home in Cleveland for a couple days this weekend, but I had my dates wrong for when this mastermind was in Austin. So I didn't realize it until I was in the Burbank airport about to leave LA. And so I got to Phoenix, changed my flight, and am now in Austin because the mastermind starts tonight. So
Okay. Um, so I got a question for you, and it's around voice AI, if that's cool.
sure. Yeah.
All right. So one of the things I've been trying to do is come up with like some other demo type stuff where I can like put some recordings together on a VSL,
Okay.
give people like a sample, and then I have a demo bot that I've got that works pretty good where it like assumes the role of your business.
Yeah.
And that works pretty good. But like for some of the recordings, um, I'll give you an example. Like I put one together for a pest control company, and the guy who actually came up with the prompt, he's pretty good. But my issue with it is the demo is supposed to show off the ability to like book an appointment, assuming that that's coming soon in high level.
Yes.
But the problem with the demo is the goal is to book the appointment. And with this, particular type of business, if there's like an urgent issue, it's like, oh, well, we don't have an appointment available till like next week if they call on a Friday. And I'm trying to get the best of both worlds where it would be like, okay, yeah, there's an appointment available next week, but if it's urgent, they're going to be like, okay, we understand you need immediate help. We're going to alert the team and have a team member reach out to the ASAP and see if we can get out there. And I'm playing with it in GPT, and it works sometimes, and other times it doesn't. So I thought maybe you might have some suggestions,
So what
or
you
maybe I need two bots.
Yeah, so what you'd want to do is do a tool call to a workflow for urgent issues and do if the user message is urgent, the description in the tool call would be if the user message is urgent or responds yes to is this an urgent issue, then fire this workflow that sends the user a message and the company a message.
I'm cool with the triggers as far as the user and the company getting the message. What I'm having trouble is having the bot respond properly all the time. So sometimes it'll be like, okay, we'll have a team member reach out to you. Other times it's like, well, our next available appointment is until next week. Does that make sense?
How are you using the voice? Like, what are you using in the voice AI to determine if an appointment's available?
Right now, nothing. It's just like, well, actually, what we're doing right now is based on company hours. So like if you like the way the prompt's written, if you called today and said, "Hey, can I get an appointment today?" It's going to say, "Hey, we don't have available anything available till Monday because of hours." It's not pulling off to a calendar because that doesn't really exist right now. This is just the example of like what it might sound like. But what I'm trying to do is if you're the caller and you say, "Hey, I can't wait till next week. Can somebody come out right away?" Or, can someone come out sooner? The bot will respond saying, "Hey, look, let me see what I can do. I'll alert the team. We'll have somebody reach out to the ASAP." Because for somebody like a plumber or a roofer,
Yeah.
that makes sense. And then trigger in the workflow so that if you're the roofer, I send you the text saying, "Hey, Mario, this guy Dan's got a leak in his roof. He wants to talk to you immediately." I can do that. That's easy. I just can't get the bot to right
Can you
now.
show me the prompt?
Yeah. Hang on a minute.
Welcome, everyone. Today is our Monday SaaS and business coaching. We're going to take a quick tangent into troubleshooting Dan Doyle's bot, and then I have a small presentation prepared for you. So we'll get started with that here shortly. Hope everyone's having a good week.
So let me move a couple things on my screen so I can see it too. So here is, kind of what I have, and I've been playing around with this and just trying to let GPT do it, and it's kind of hit or miss. So I don't know what else, you would need to see on it.
So the problem is you're doing assess the urgency of the caller's issue and respond appropriately. You need to hard code the urgency into the bot.
Okay.
And yeah, and because urgency is subjective, and so the caller needs to be the one who explicitly says this is urgent or an emergency. So what I would do is in your call flow, your call script flow, where you have, step one is, do this, step one is do that. You need to, instead of doing the numbers 2 and 3 or number two, you need to ask the caller, is this urgent?
Just that simple.
Yeah, I mean, you say, is this urgent? Is this an urgent issue that requires immediate attention, or are you looking to schedule a service at a later time? You just need to say in this um if the caller responds that this is an urgent or emergency issue, then proceed down this path.
Okay, I can figure that part out. I've done that in some other bots.
Yep.
Okay. So basically shorten that question to, is this an urgent issue? And then I would have to add, if urgent, something along
Yes.
this line.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly.
All right. That'll work.
Cool.
Thank you.
Absolutely. All right, let me share my screen.
Hey, Mario.
Hello. All right, hopefully everyone can see that. Can you guys see my screen?
Yep.
All right. So what I want to talk about today is what is artificial intelligence? And this is a question I get asked on a regular basis. This is something that is near and dear to my heart because I study a lot about intelligence in general, the human mind, everything from psychology to neurology, different ways to hack your brain, all kinds of stuff that relates to intelligence in general, and artificial intelligence is one of those pieces. So, really quick in the Zoom chat, for those of you that are here, go ahead and drop what is your definition of artificial intelligence? Don't Google it. Just give me like one sentence about artificial intelligence.
One sentence.
One quick sentence. Yeah, the quickest sentence you can give me about artificial intelligence. Okay, so Sherry said, and make sure you guys turn on the send to everyone. So Sherry said, a way to help people be more efficient. I like that.
Mine's kind of sarcastic, but it's true.
Something that's a lot smarter than me. Okay, I like that too. Andrew and George, anything from you guys? If you're at a computer or have the ability to type, I'd appreciate it. Feel free to unmute yourselves if that's easier. All right, so we will go ahead and move forward. So, welcome. For those of you that are just joining today or are watching this and have never met me before, my name is Mario Aldayuz, and I am the head of partnerships here at HL Pro Tools. And I am also one of the experts in AI in the high-level ecosystem as well as outside of the high-level ecosystem. So today our goal is going to be understanding artificial intelligence. And artificial intelligence means something different realistically to everybody. It has a general definition of what it means, and we're going to dive into that. According to the Merriam-Webster dictionary, obviously there is an entry for artificial intelligence, but it really can mean a variety of different things. And there are different levels of artificial intelligence. And there are different levels of artificial machine intelligence. There's different terminology. There's all kinds of different things. So the earliest mention of artificial intelligence was actually in the 1940s. And the first use of the term wasn't until the mid 1950s. Pardon me for my cough. I'm getting over a cold. But anyways, so Warren McCulloch and Walter Pitts first mentioned the theory of a neuron system that was artificial. And John McCarthy, who developed the Lisp programming language, was the first one to actually coin the term artificial intelligence. So that's the first time it was ever mentioned, was in 1956. That's pretty amazing to think that we've known or had the concept of artificial intelligence since the 1950s, 1940s, right? And Alan Turing in the 50s and 40s also came up with the Turing test, which was a way to determine whether or not someone was human or whether or not an intelligence was human, essentially, right? So there have been a lot of different players in the space. For those of you who are familiar with the term mechanical Turk, a mechanical Turk is actually was supposed to be the first, not sentient, but artificial intelligence that was capable of playing chess against a grandmaster and winning. Come to find out that the Mechanical Turk, which is why Amazon's Mechanical Turk product is actually humans. The Mechanical Turk wasn't really a artificial intelligence. It was a person stuffed into the base of the table that was moving the chess pieces around with a magnet. So it it wasn't until probably the early 2000s that we really started to see the artificial intelligence developing. The conventional definition of artificial intelligence is the theory and development of computer systems able to perform tasks that normally require human intelligence, such as visual perception, speech recognition, decision making, and translation between languages. So, this, for me personally, is not a very good definition of artificial intelligence, and I'm going to explain why here shortly. But I've already had a couple of you chat in with what you define artificial intelligence as, and both Sherry and Dan put it pretty aptly that it's a way for people to help people be more efficient and something a lot smarter than me. While sarcastic, I would agree with you, Dan. I would expect artificial intelligence to be more intelligent than I am because it processes faster, it's armed with more knowledge, it's able to do a lot of different things that maybe I'm not familiar with. So that's when I think about AI, I think about something that is more powerful. I don't really think of it being humanoid in nature. I simply define it as something that is a powerful machine capable of processing information faster than I can. That's how I define or I really look at artificial intelligence. So there are four types of artificial intelligence. You've probably used or seen at least the first one, if not the first two, and maybe you haven't experienced the third one, and you've definitely seen, if you haven't seen the movie The Terminator, then shame on you. I would expect everybody in this audience has seen The Terminator because it is just an amazing movie. But reactive AI, the first one, is really designed for realistic responses that are not based on an attention span. So it is very much what I call like a one-shot bot. So in a one-shot bot, you ask it a question, it gives you an answer. You ask another question, it doesn't remember anything from the first question. So that is the first iteration, ChatGPT's original rollout, 3.5 and 3, and some of the earlier ChatGPT rollouts were really dumb, contextually speaking. And you could ask it a question, it would respond, you'd ask it another question, and it really didn't have much what we call context window, right? It was great for, again, doing basic research, coming up with initial ideas. Something like you'd ask it, can you give me a list of the top 10 cities in the United States by population? And it was really just a glorified Google search, right? And it had a very limited token window. So a token is an AI's unit of data. So it's usually either part of a word, part of an image. It's a fragment of sorts that is tokenized by the software and then fed to the AI for it to return some information. So it's a building block and it's part of a larger data set. Some tokens can be larger than others, but for the most part, they've standardized token size to be a fragment of a word or a fragment of an image. Now, it gets a little bit hairy when you start incorporating like files and things like that. But generally speaking, a token is a fraction of a word or an entire word, depending on how short that word is. So limited memory AIs, so moving forward to limited memory AIs, which is what we're all using today, are things like ChatGPT 4.0, ChatGPT o1, which is Omni. These are capable of maintaining attention span or maintaining contextual window throughout conversation, right? So these AIs are able to do some logical reasoning, they have some emotional intelligence, and they're capable of a little bit more complex tasks. So, like for example, I asked, and it's able to ask questions too, if it knows that it doesn't understand something. So, like I asked ChatGPT 4.0 and ChatGPT o1 independently. I asked them to help me plan out my trip around the world for 2025. And it said, well, I don't know where you're going. So why don't you give me a list of cities first? So I provided a list of cities. And then it asked me, well, how long do you plan to stay in each city? Right. So it has a little bit more capability, but it's still not able to come up with its own ideas. It's not able to do much in the natural emotional intelligence. So it's not empathic by nature. So one of the things that we qualify for artificial intelligence is its capability to be empathic by nature. So without predefined training, meaning we didn't feed it a list of faces and what their corresponding emotion is. We didn't feed it a list of phrases or words with their specific emotional correlation, which that's what we've done for ChatGPT 4.0 and ChatGPT o1 Omni. We've basically prompted it or fed it or trained it with some emotional intelligence. Theory of mind AI, like Sophia, Sophia looks very sad in this photo. I think in this photo, she was talking about women's rights in the Emirates. Sophia is actually an AI developed by Hanson Robotics. So Sophia is able to, and this is from like 2016. Sophia has some level of emotional intelligence. Now, there's a widespread debate around whether or not Sophia's emotional intelligence was prompted or whether it's natural, but really no one has been able to get under the hood inside of Sophia's core programming, the 30% that wasn't open source, to really determine the validity. But Hanson Robotics built Sophia for interacting with humans in a customer support, customer service, and essentially as a therapy robot, originally designed for people in long-term care facilities and things like that to have that didn't have anybody to have a human-like interaction. So Sophia was actually the first artificial intelligence to be granted citizenship in Saudi Arabia, in the world, anywhere in the world. And she was granted citizenship in Saudi Arabia after unprompted, uh, essentially saying that women's rights in Saudi Arabia were crap and that they needed to get with the program and improve women's rights. So some critics do call her a chatbot with a face. But if you watch Sophia's videos on YouTube, I would encourage you to come up with your own understanding or your own analysis and conclusions. But overall, this was a pretty groundbreaking change in artificial intelligence when Sophia came out. Now, many of you have probably seen Elon Musk and Tesla's new robots that are able to do different things that are um, more akin to understanding human emotion, understanding body language. So, one of the scariest videos I watched was of Elon Musk's robots where they're pouring a drink right at the bar. The robotic bartender is pouring a drink, and a woman walks up to the bar and goes like this. She raises the peace sign with her hand, and the robot has a digital smile and throws up the peace sign while it's pouring the drink. That shows general intelligence of that robot, that it was able to know that the proper response was to throw up the peace sign and that it's a happy thing that that person put up the peace sign. So that shows empathy, that shows general intelligence. And stuff like this is pretty scary when you think about it. But realistically speaking, we're not quite here, which is what everyone thinks about when people talk about AI, right? So a lot of talks that I give and presentations that I give around artificial intelligence to business owners, and I speak at a variety of business groups all over the country about AI. And most of the feedback that I get is I don't want to use it. It's going to take my job. I'm scared of it. I can't, verify the accuracy. Or they think this. They think it's going to become a Terminator, right? And that's what kind of everyone's general concept of AI is when you really distill it down, is that it's going to take over the world and become Skynet, right? Well, I don't think that that's entirely accurate, and I'm going to tell you why. So there are four pillars to self-awareness. You have attention span, which is the ability for you and I to have a conversation. So let's flip this and think about it in the context of the human mind, right? So attention span being the limitation of how we interact in a conversation and maintain coherence during that conversation. So let's say that Dan or Sherry and I are talking about voice AI, and we talk about voice AI for 5 to 10 minutes. During that time, I don't lose focus, right? I don't step over my words. I don't start talking about something else. I don't start looking for other things. I maintain that attention span. Well, we talked about tokens earlier. AI most context window or token window is around 128 to 256,000 tokens. That's ChatGPT and OpenAI's limitations. The biggest token window currently is 2 million tokens, and that's the Gemini 2.0 experimental and 1206 experimental models. So that means that it's able to have a conversation and maintain coherence for up to 2 million tokens input and output total worth of data. Now, it's still only able to output a max of, in most cases, about 9,000 tokens. That means that I can feed it 1.8, 1.9 million tokens worth of data. Now, it will never accept that much in the API or in the web prompt, but in theory, I can feed it that much data, and it will only ever be able to output to me in response a summarization or detail of 9,000 tokens. It's like 8196 or something like that. So that's attention span. Then we talk about short-term memory. We've got this solved, right? So we haven't really solved the attention span problem. I mean, I would consider an artificial intelligence to need to have an unlimited attention span. It should have no real concept of time or distraction during a conversation. I personally believe it should have an unlimited token window. There are some players in the AI space that have developed theoretical and are in beta with unlimited token or infinite token bots, but those are still really in the theoretical and beta phase, and no one has been able to validate their results. But then we talk about short-term memory. So RAG, which I showed you on one of the previous slides as a term, is retrieval augmented generation. That's the ability for the bot to have a data store of vectorized information, vectorized meaning mathematical points of knowledge that it's able to dip into. So, for example, and vectors are correlated pieces of data. So every word that's vectorized is essentially the same vector. Every phrase that gets vectorized is the same vector, etc. So if I search a knowledge base of vectorized data for the word high level, for example, it will return the context in that database of a certain limit around the word high level. So it'll say high level is this, high level is that, high level does this, in high level workflows do that. That's retrieval augmented generation. It's the knowledge base function in the conversation AI. If you've ever used platforms like BotPress, it's the knowledge base function in BotPress. But that is only short-term memory, meaning that it is while it is essentially a memory store, it is not what I would call a keyed memory store, cornerstone memory store, and that's long-term memory. This doesn't exist yet. One of the things that long-term memory, if you think about it from a human mind principle, right? Long-term memory is the ability for us to take the short-term memory and whether we're awake or asleep, however it happens, it's able to summarize that information and store it as a keyed value and archive that entire short-term memory into chunks in our long-term memory. So what happens is, let me give an example of long-term memory and short-term memory. So I go to a bar and there is a woman in a red dress, and the bartender is pouring beers. There are people playing darts. There are a bunch of different things happening at this bar, and I'm intaking all of this knowledge, and I can, within a reasonable time frame, depending on how much you train your memory, you can recall almost all of that instantaneously. But that's during your short-term memory window. Now, as soon as I leave that bar, my short-term memory is done. Attention span gets killed. Short-term memory gets done. my subconscious is now on to processing that short-term memory into long-term memory. And the next day, when I go to recall what happened, I think of, oh, well, I was at the bar, I was working, and the bartender poured me some drinks. It was great. There were some people there, but I don't really remember a bunch of information about the specifics of being in that place at that time. But let's say that I'm walking down the street and there is a woman in a red dress wearing a specific perfume that woman in the red dress at the bar, when I walked to the restroom, I could smell. Sometimes that will, and I'm sure that you guys have experienced this as well, perhaps not with a woman in a red dress, but just in general. You'll have experienced where you'll smell something, see something, taste something, hear something, and all of a sudden, you, mentally speaking, are back 10 years ago inside of a unlocked grouping of memories that you wouldn't have normally thought about unless prompted, right? Because you had a key that unlocked that memory store, and now you're back in your childhood. And you probably would think of this more if you were thinking like, oh man, this is so nostalgic. It reminds me of childhood, or it reminds me of my 20s or my 30s, what have you, right? So that's long-term memory, the ability to archive and key store memories. This doesn't really exist yet. And the reason being is no one's figured out how to properly store on a regular basis and process large volumes of data and then put that information in a summary, store it down further, and continue basically compressing it like a zip file and then unlocking it at a later time. The last piece of what I believe personally is just not going to happen to get to that Terminator point is inspiration. So the fourth pillar of self-awareness is inspiration. And inspiration means the ability to come up with unprompted your own ideas. So a great example of inspiration is like Leonardo da Vinci or Michelangelo or any artist, any creator, all of you, for example, with any of the content that you're creating. You're not repurposing something else or necessarily leaning on something else. You are coming up with an idea of your own volition and own creative mind that is 100% unprompted. So like I oftentimes will wake up from a dream, I'll wake up or be walking down the street and I'll just have a thought, right? That's inspiration. That thought, that random thing that comes into my head, and they call me the idea fairy at work. But that random thing that pops into my head, that's inspiration. And inspiration is both one of the most dangerous things from an artificial intelligence standpoint, as well as one of the most valuable things for that make us human. So inspiration, me personally, I don't think we're going to achieve, at least in my lifetime or my children's lifetime, because it is, we have not cracked the human mind for inspiration. We don't understand where inspiration comes from, what combination of neural pathways, chemicals, and electrical signals create inspiration. It's the soul of the person or the soul of the machine, right? So there are different AI tools that we can use. One is ChatGPT, that's the most common one. Claude being the second, that's similar to ChatGPT, but each one of these, so ChatGPT, Claude, and DeepSeek, have a different purpose. I would say that ChatGPT is better at being um, procedural in a lot of ways. It's better at research. It's released to the internet. I personally use it as my search engine, which if you didn't know, you can actually use ChatGPT as your search engine. Go to ChatGPT, ask it how to make it your search engine, and it will completely change your world. It is able, and for those of you who suck at Googling things, and there are people out there I have learned that are actually really bad at Googling things, um, if you're bad at Googling things, ChatGPT is able to understand what you're searching for, and it knows how to Google things really well. So I released ChatGPT to Google, and I can put in a paragraph worth of information, and it will do a sequence of Google queries and return the most relevant results for the information I'm looking for. It's amazing. Claude is better at creativity, it's better at writing code, but it's not released to the internet, so its training data is fairly limited. It's not very good at coming up with a plan necessarily. DeepSeek, which many of you have heard about in the news, recently the Chinese AI, is actually best at troubleshooting code. And the reason it's best at troubleshooting code is because you're able to read its logical thought process, which stimulates in your mind how. So, for those of you who are software developers or build websites or funnels or workflows, if you feed it that information, it's actually able to help you troubleshoot it, but not in the capacity of it provides a good result so much as it provides really good logic process around what you should be looking for. There's a platform called Hey Levi. Some of you may have heard of it. It's an up and coming AI tool for that integrates directly with HighLevel. It is by far the best for content generation. You can take your brand, you basically put in a little bit of information about your brand, a little bit of information about your product, you upload a logo, boom, and it will start spitting out content for you like nobody's business. It's like 75 bucks a month, and it is one of the best tools that I use for generating blog posts and multimedia content. If you're really into art and creativity, there's platforms like MidJourney, Dolly, other tools that are more on the creative side where you feed it a prompt and it spits out what it thinks you want to visualize. So it creates art. Now, sometimes the results are interesting, to say the least, when the person in the picture has like 9 fingers, or their mouth is on top of their eyes. But generally speaking, it does a pretty good job, and it's getting better at outputting creative things. So for someone who's maybe disabled, whether it be a visual impairment or a physical impairment, and they're unable to paint or draw, MidJourney and Dolly are great ways for them to express visually what they are thinking or imagining. Then you get into tools like HighLevel with their voice chat, workflow, review, all the different pillars of their AI. And it's absolutely one of the most valuable tools on the market for operational AI. And by operational AI, I mean tools that you can use every day to leverage in your business or your personal life for that matter, because I run my personal life through HighLevel. Literally, my cell phone and everything's linked to it. So it's one of the best tools that you can leverage for operational AI, meaning things, again, things that you can do in your everyday business life or personal life, using AI to enhance those functionalities. So some common use cases for AI in business, and this is one of the questions again that I get on a regular basis, is like, well, I don't even know where to start, right? So the first thing you do whenever you want to know where to start is you ask somebody. Well, who better to ask than AI? So go to ChatGPT and ask ChatGPT, tell it, here's my business. Here's what I do on a regular basis that's repetitive. How can you help me? And you'll find that it starts generating content for you. It helps you with customer service GPTs. So you can build out custom GPTs specifically focused on what you do in your business. So like I build GPTs all the time for different purposes, right? I built one recently for how to handle problematic situations with customers. And I fed it a bunch of transcripts of bad stuff and a bunch of transcripts of good stuff. and then a training that I did on how to handle the bad stuff and why the good stuff was good. And so you can actually upload an email, you can upload a transcript, and it will very easily tell you what to do, what to say, what not to do. You can do miscall text back or miscall AI. So MCAI is what I call it, McKay. This is where instead of you missing a phone call and it going to voicemail, it goes to AI. So people right now are really just not happy with leaving voicemails. I don't know what it is about the last 5 to 10 years, but I know when answering machines came out, people were super excited about leaving messages on answering boxes, and they'd talk to them for as long as the answering box would listen. But nowadays, people don't leave voicemails. So you lose that lead, you lose that person in the process. The AI picking up the call and interacting with that customer somehow breaks down that barrier. Now, you do want to state up front that it's AI, which elicits a curiosity in a lot of cases. Where people fail with miscall AI or voice AI is they try and disguise it as being human and don't state up front that it's an AI. But by stating up front that it's an AI, people are willing to interact with it, and you'll collect their lead information, you'll collect their problem, all kinds of stuff. You can use it for proofreading and polishing articles. So I know that this has been a big challenge in schools, is that kids are getting better grades because they're using AI. And I was talking to a teacher the other day who said, we've just quit asking people to write essays. And I said, why? And she said, because they just go to ChatGPT and have it write the essay and it's perfect. And that makes a lot of sense, right? Now, does that mean we're going to lose the art of writing an essay? Yeah. But to be honest with you, some people just aren't good at writing essays. And it's okay to use the tools in your toolbox. Like, for example, you think about Google, right? You used to have, and I remember as a kid, we had a bookshelf and we spent an absurd amount of money on this encyclopedia set. And my dad, he's from Bolivia, he was super excited about this encyclopedia set because it was a symbol of status, right? And when I would do research on a project, I would either have to go to the library or I would have to use this encyclopedia set because Google wasn't around. So I remember I did research on, and see how I mentioned encyclopedia. Now I'm in my brain sometime when I was a child, probably like 6 years old, on back to the long-term memory conversation about an Andes condor. And I looked up the condor in the encyclopedia and learned about all things related, took notes, everything like that. And then when Google came out, it took me, and what I was getting to is it took me a long time to get to that information. We had to buy the encyclopedia set. I had to look up the Andes condor. I had to take notes. I had to summarize them. And then I had to make a clay model of an Andes condor. And so it took a while, right? Well, now I can just go to Google and ask it to show me all the information about an Andes condor. And it will show me images and give me a synopsis and show me wildlife patterns and just this treasure trove of information that I can take and put into an essay or a report. AI is really no different in its tool use case than the advancements from encyclopedia to Google now to AI. It's a logical iteration. You can use it for coming up with ideas. So, like, I was planning Valentine's Day with my lady friend, and I wanted to come up with ideas on how to, like, what to do for Valentine's Day. Well, I'm not a very creative person when it comes to interacting with other humans. It's just not something I excel at. But AI is very good at thinking about like meaningful things. So like going to the art museum or going to the zoo or something like that. So I fed AI. I said, I live in Cleveland. I'm only going to be home for a couple days. My partner and I would like to have something special for Valentine's Day that's not just going out to dinner and watching a movie. And AI came back, ChatGPT specifically, came back with a litany of different options for what we can do. We can go to the Arboretum, we can go to a bookstore, we can, spend quality time together and cook. I mean, it came up with all these different things. And then it started asking me questions about what she likes, what I like. And it came up with all these different options. So you can use it for coming up with ideas. You can use it for developing software. So I wrote 12,000 lines of code in roughly 3 days, which would take a normal team of 5 software developers about 2 months. I wrote 12,000 lines of pretty good code in Claude in a matter of 3 days. I was talking to a friend of mine who owns a telecom company in Australia, and he's not a software developer. He would be like an amateur software developer hacker at best, like low end hacker at best. He can work his way around CSS, HTML, and JavaScript, but can't write an app to save his life. And I explained to him about this new tool called Bolt and one called Lovable, and asked him to check them out. Well, he wrote a prototype for an app that he had been thinking about and handed it to his software developers. And they were like, "Oh my gosh, Gary, when did you learn how to develop software?" And he's like, "I didn't. AI did all this." So that's the power of AI. It's really a tool in our toolbox that we can use and leverage. It's not something to be afraid of. It's not something to shy away from or think that it's going to take your job. So I've been talking for about 30 minutes. So does anyone on the call have any questions? Feel free to unmute yourself. And okay, Andrew.
Yeah, I had a question. I don't know if somebody's made it or if GHL has one specifically, but do they have like a GPT that would specifically be able to answer, or help you, or write up step by steps like, oh, I want to do this very specific thing within GHL. How do I do it? Or can you just write the code for me? Like maybe I want to create like a different theme, or I want to add uh seasonal like leaves falling on the background of this website within GHL, or I don't know, something like that.
To my knowledge, nobody has written one of those yet.
Okay.
I have a white label support bot that I wrote that
Okay.
does like workflow and funnel steps, but for
And it
specific,
just tells you what to do, or it does
yeah.
it and then you just copy the code or something?
Um, ChatGPT could probably do that if you fed it enough information. The problem is, HighLevel is login walled. So
Yeah,
ChatGPT can't get into the back end of HighLevel to do things like help it create a custom theme
got it.
or anything like that. And HighLevel is obviously not going to share their SDK with ChatGPT. Um,
Yeah. I'm
but
just curious, maybe if
that's a
they
good
have one
idea.
that's like, hey, because they have a huge knowledge base site too. So it'd be like kind of nice if that was like a custom GPT that existed. And that's like, yeah, instead of just having to go scroll through and read a bunch of documentation, you can just ask a bunch of questions and it would give a quick answer.
Yeah,
Andrew,
so I have a free, well, it's $1.35 if you're not feeling generous. But I have a free bot that you can install in HighLevel that is a white labeled support bot if you're interested.
Okay. Awesome.
And Sherry, you just unmuted yourself.
I just noted, or I just have used Perplexity. Has anybody used Perplexity before?
Yeah, I like Perplexity a lot.
Yeah, that was pretty helpful in step by step and not necessarily um, straight to high level.
Yeah, I think Perplexity is a nice in between on Google and ChatGPT.
Yeah, exactly.
Another good one is TextCortex.com. And that one is all of the different AIs. You can load in your own knowledge base. It's like a personal AI. So I take all of my audio. I wrote a pipeline to take all of my I use a Claude device, Plaud. Um,
Is that the thing that sits at your desk?
Claude attaches to the back of my cell phone.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And then whenever I'm thinking of ideas, I just hit the button on Claude and talk to it. And so I took Claude and uploaded all my transcripts to and summarizations to TextCortex. And then it creates basically creating my own like life knowledge base.
So that way you can be recreated in the future.
That's
Use
the idea.
that.
There's a really good series called the Bobiverse series. If for any, I think All of These Worlds is the first book in the series. But if you're if you're a sci-fi fan or interested in AI or
Yeah.
intelligence in general, the Bobiverse series is absolutely phenomenal.
So is this a version of Claude, or is this actually you doing this presentation?
This is actually me doing this presentation. You guys were my guinea pigs because I present on this tomorrow and I built the presentation yesterday morning. So you guys are my first guinea pigs of like how it went. So I'm totally open to feedback. If you guys have anything I should tweak, improve.
Is your audience GHL focused like us, or just general AI audience?
General AI. So they're white label. So it's 50 people that they know it's GHL, but they're white label users of another provider.
Okay.
And he's trying to get them to use the AI, but also to sign up for their own GHL accounts.
Got it.
Mhm. Yeah, trying to figure out like what other ones to use or to keep everything inside, like the way everything's developing. It's kind of interesting.
So TextCortex is probably my favorite tool that I use.
Do you do the free one or the paid for one?
I've been paying for it for like 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah, because it gives me unlimited knowledge base.
Okay.
Or well, it's the knowledge base is like 500 gigs or something stupid, or
Yeah.
100 gigs or something stupid, and it gives me unlimited tokens, and it gives me all of the providers and Xenobot.
What's Xenobot?
I'll show you. Hold on a second. It writes all of my YouTube scripts, like pretty much
Damn.
everything I do. Let me log into it really quick and I'll show you.
So one day you're gonna be a little what are they called? Like a hologram, like projection, and then people will just talk to you.
The idea, it's all about legacy, right? Like, I
Yeah.
mean, I think that's the thing I'm most excited about with AI is that the internet is in a lot of ways, like everyone says, once it's out on the internet, it never leaves. The internet is ultimately finite.
Right.
It does forget things. Like I know websites that have just gone and died and nobody has access to them anymore and it didn't save any of the information. Like it's just gone.
Yeah.
And AI doesn't lose that in its memory stores and training. It will only get more powerful and more information as training data goes on, as long as we continue to feed the AI with an ever-growing training set as opposed to just new training data. So this is Xenobot, and this is like I have my knowledge in here. So I have my knowledge about different like high-level articles. I have my old Extendly stuff. I have BotPress. And then I can just ask it questions about my knowledge base.
Interesting.
And it can do things like it can search the web, it can create templates, it can generate images, you can upload more information, you can sync it to Google Drive.
Have you had conversations with yourself
Yeah.
about like what do you
It's pretty crazy.
I'm going down like a wormhole. I'm sorry if I'm distracting from the conversation, but
No, you're
it's like
fine.
I'm just curious, like what it comes back with, and does it think like? Do you evaluate that it thinks like you?
I don't think it's there yet
Okay.
because it's really lacking, again, the long-term memory and inspiration component.
Hmm.
So it's able to like, I'm
Actually
able,
remember those things that happened, but not.
exactly.
Yeah.
And the attention span window dies at the end of my conversation. So it doesn't remember my previous conversation. And no matter what, the
Oh,
context window is still too short.
got it.
Hey, I got a
Awesome.
quick question before you take off.
Sure.
You had said a little while ago about just coming out and saying, "Hey, your voice receptionist is AI," right?
Yes, 100%. You have to.
So what do you do? Just be like, "Hey, this is Dan, the AI at so and so company."
Literally. Yep.
Okay.
You're saying legally now that's a requirement?
You do for outbound voice. For inbound voice, it's just an immediate icebreaker.
Got it.
I have a question
Sure.
before you. I'm meeting with about, well, looking like 5 to 10 people from my graduating class group. And so they're basically just wanting, I'm the teacher of the group, so they're like, get us a direction. So a lot of them are in real estate. So I'm just gonna have them bring, because I've done the voice AI with you. And I was just going to kind of get on a call and brainstorm with them and talk to them about, okay, what are you trying to solve type thing. And then I was going to throw together a voice AI bot and then do like my initial thought was kind of give them an idea of having a voice AI that could send it to a buyer's agent, a seller's agent,
Yep.
investor, kind of like different areas, and then kind of get them to say, okay, this is how, then you need to develop it, and like walk them through a workflow on one area, and then just, I don't know, any ideas?
Yeah. I have quite a few. When's your presentation?
Monday from 10 to 12
Oh,
in the
cool.
morning.
Congratulations, first off.
Well,
Um,
I'm not trying to sell them anything. I'm just trying to get them organized and moving because they're people that I know, we all started fresh, and I know they don't have a lot of clients and need to really get rolling.
so keep it simple.
Okay.
Use tool calls for transferring the call transfer function
Okay.
and keep it very simple. Don't try and incorporate it because the more complex you make the voice AI prompt, the
Okay.
dumber the voice AI gets.
Okay.
So just do a logical call flow of collect their information and ask them who they want to speak with, and then give them an option of who they can speak with.
Okay. And then do a call transfer to different people.
Exactly.
Okay. And then maybe do one after that is like a workflow after type thing,
Yep.
or just keep it even more simple than that.
Personally, I would keep it more simple.
Okay. And just have them transfer to different people.
Yes.
Because then I was thinking too, then they could actually go after clients that they could refer to other people if they're agents. They'll get product off of referring to other people, and they could just be kind of a call center
Yeah.
and the clients that come in that they do service, but then really getting a referral service going also.
Yep. Exactly.
Okay. Any other thoughts?
No, that's a really good start.
Do you have a basic real estate prompt for a real estate voice AI prompt?
I do, but I can't share it with you until Matt does his demo with HighLevel.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So
No
I'm still
problem.
waiting on that.
Okay. No problem. When do you think he's going to do that?
Sometime next week.
Okay. Cool. Well, I hope you feel better.
Thank you so much. All right, everybody. Well, I'm
Hey,
going to get off here and head over to my event. And then I will see all of you on Monday.
Mario, I just had one quick. I saw you posted about Austin. I live in Austin, so I don't know if you what what you were looking for, but I'm happy to connect or whatever you want to chat about.
Yeah, if you want to grab lunch on Sunday, or meet up Sunday afternoon, I'd love to. I'm at the Downright, in Moody something.
Okay. Yeah, do you want me I'll just put my number in here if you want to text me.
I'll put my Facebook in the Zoom chat.
Okay.
And just find me on Facebook.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right, there you go. Let me know when you grab that.
Yeah, I got it.
Cool. See you guys here shortly.
All right. Thanks, Mario.
Yep. Bye.